Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps a better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
The Road Not Taken was written in 1915 by poet Robert Frost, an acclaimed American poet. At nearly age 40, Frost found himself discouraged by American publishers who tended to prefer younger writers. And by 1911, he moved to London where he believed publishers would be more receptive of his work. It was during these years of living in London where he would write the poem The Road Not Taken. The poem was originally written as a joke about his friend, who often regretted whichever path they chose when the two would go on walks together. Although written partly as a joke, Frost recognized the poem's deeper meaning, saying, "I am never more serious than one joking." The poem focuses on a person who comes to a fork in the woods and has to choose between two paths. The speaker considers both, knowing that whichever path he doesn't take will be left behind. He eventually chooses one and reflects on how that choice has shaped his life. The poem begins with the line, "Two roads diverged in a yellow wood." Frost uses the two roads as symbols for the different choices people face in life. It's part of an extended metaphor throughout the poem about decision making. In the lines, "And sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler, long I stood," the speaker's conflict is introduced. The word sorry and the phrase long I stood show the speaker's hesitation, and together highlight the idea that like the speaker, we must all choose between different possibilities we are faced with. Frost uses enjambment throughout the poem to mimic the speaker's natural flow of thoughts and demonstrate his uncertainty about which path to take. This can be seen in lines like, "And be one traveler, long I stood," as well as, "Though as that for the passing there had worn them really about the same." There is also vivid imagery, like in the lines, "And looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth." Together, these create imagery to create a metaphor for trying to see into the future. The speaker wants to know where each path will lead, just like we often try to predict the outcome of our choices, but we can only see so far before the path disappears, reminding us that the future is always uncertain no matter how hard we try to look ahead. In stanza 2, Frost uses irony to highlight the speaker's uncertainty. He says, "Then took the other as just as fair and having perhaps a better claim," which shows that the speaker is trying to convince himself that he's making the right choice. Words like just as and perhaps reveal that he isn't confident. He's reassuring himself because he knows that the paths are actually very similar to each other. This idea appears again in the line, "Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same." Here, more irony is used to show that the choices we make in life often don't lead us down drastically different paths. Even though the speaker wants to believe that one road is more meaningful than the other, Frost here is suggesting that the choices are actually quite similar to one another. In stanza 3, the line "Equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black" uses imagery and symbolism to show that this path is full of new possibilities for the speaker. The fresh, untouched leaves symbolize a choice that hasn't been shaped by or influenced by others. Next, in the line, "I kept the first for another day," an exclamation mark is used to show the speaker's excitement about the idea of new possibilities. But the poem quickly shifts back to the metaphor with, "Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back." This reminds us that one choice leads to another and that returning to a path we didn't take is unlikely. Even if the speaker tells himself he might go back to this other path, life rarely works that way and he's likely not to return. In the final stanza, the line, "I shall be telling this with a sigh," creates a tone of ambiguity. We don't know if this sigh is one of happiness, regret, or reflection. And then, "Somewhere ages and ages hence," shows the speaker imagining how he will look back on this choice in the distant future. When he repeats the line, "Two roads diverge in a wood," we circle back to the opening line of the poem, and this line ultimately emphasizes the moment of his choice and the final choice that he's making. Finally, he says, "I took the one less traveled by," which is ironic because earlier he admitted that the roads are actually very similar to each other. And the closing line, "And that has made all the difference," ends the poem with a sense of mystery. This difference might be real, or it might be something that the speaker tells himself to make his choice feel more meaningful. The uncertainty of the future used to feel overwhelming, but I've come to view it as a reminder to live in the moment and value the opportunities in front of me. Exploring this curiosity has helped me reflect on what I see brings my life meaning, which is building strong relationships, pursuing my goals, and considering the impact I want to have. I've realized that qualities like adaptability, loyalty, and empathy aren't just traits I admire, they're ones I strive to embody. When obstacles arise, I push forward instead of avoiding them, and when others face uncertainty, I hope to be a source of support. I've learned to trust myself, to trust that I'm putting my best foot forward and making decisions that reflect who I am and who I want to be. I don't need to have all the answers. Instead, I focus on approaching choices thoughtfully and intentionally. Like the speaker in Edgar Lee Masters' George Gray, I've learned that true meaning comes from taking risks and leaving the securities in my life even when it's uncomfortable, as I don't want to look back and feel I missed experiences or could have done more. Ivan Illich and his realization at the end of his life that he spent too much time living by the expectation of others reminds me to stay authentic to what fulfills me and embracing those around me. And like the speaker in Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken, I've learned that uncertainty isn't a threat. It's an opportunity to grow, reflect, and live in a way that truly reflects who I am. Ultimately, this is my favorite poem because it reminds me to embrace change and trust myself in the decisions I make. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps a better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how Wade leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.